start. We are born again. Open your heart. Spend this time in your head.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Another Fab Four. We were late getting this out this month because we totally forgot, and I was late to our recording. I'm 20 minutes late right now. So, hi, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being patient with everything. These guys were all in the middle of a conversation when I got in here. So I think we're just going to continue. Yeah, we're just going to continue the chatty chat. So, Neely, what was the conversation that I missed out on? And then I'll give some input towards the end.
We were talking about how it boggles our minds that people and we used to eat like the junk food, all the junk food, hundreds and hundreds of carbs per day. And Lindsay was talking about her diet back at, was it in college or high school?
That was actually like junior high, high school, and definitely spilling into the college / early married years / just until after my first kid was born.
And sadly, that's like the standard American diet that most people and like school children and everybody is on right now. Like wake up and have Pop-Tarts or cereal, and then, 2 hours later have a granola bar or soda, or, and it's just like all these doses of junk throughout the day just to get you through the day. And you're always hungry. You never feel fully satisfied. You're eating these super palatable foods, but at the same time, you don't feel satisfied by them. And it's like just one after the other after the other. And it's just, it's like a rat race. And I can't believe that I used to live that way. Mm-hmm. And like watching all the people still doing that, it's just like, what do we do?
Yeah, and just the way that we felt, like how we were just tired all the time. And then it was like you eat and you get satiated. And then like an hour later, you just need that fix again. Like you need that carbs, and then you get that like high again, and then you crash, and it's just like a roller coaster all day long. Like it's ridiculous to think about our past, all of our past, and eating all of the carbs. I would like to kind of know to see how many carbs I was actually eating in a day and what my macros actually were. Because I guarantee you there was hardly any protein. Like I don't even, like I would just graze, and I would rather have snacky foods or chips for supper or fast food or something like that, that there literally was hardly any protein in my diet for years.
Yep.
And it's crazy because a lot of those foods, they had a lot of fat with them too.
Yeah.
But probably not the good fat.
No, it was the combo. It was like carbs. Exactly, with all the seed oils or the trans fats. Okay, so I remember you guys were, talking about that, and I remember the two things that my mom and I would eat a lot together. Lindsay, you were going through your whole list of stuff earlier before we started recording. Our favorite snack that we had a couple of times a day was Wonder Bread with margarine and brown sugar and sometimes cinnamon. Not even toasted, just like soft bread. That, and then are you ready? Bisquick with milk and cinnamon and sugar, and we would eat it raw.
Oh man,
no egg. No, I mean it's just flour. It's like the flour and the baking soda and the baking powder, so it's got like that
thing,
kind of. And then tons of cinnamon sugar and sometimes butter on top of that. And I would like take it and like play with it and make little like balls and stuff. And then I'd eat it. And I would do that like 3 times a day.
Oh my gosh.
How is that even like safe for you to eat?
Because there's no egg in it. It's just flour.
Oh my God.
Because the raw egg is the unhealthy part.
And now every day I have the raw egg. So that's what I would eat 3 times a day. And then with the 2 pieces of bread thrown in there too. And I always had oatmeal in the morning because oatmeal was very healthy.
So healthy.
And I would always put nuts in it. Sometimes I would do some fruit, but most of the time not. And I always liked the brown sugar maple oatmeal with more sugar and brown sugar.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
added to
necessary.
it with margarine. And then dinner was usually fettuccine Alfredo. But
Yeah,
no,
like it was all carbs, especially growing up. It was all carbs, like a sandwich, a granola bar, like Neely said, and it was like cereal in the
Pasta
morning,
for
a
dinner.
muffin. It was all carbs.
Yeah.
but I have to say, it does give me hope for our children that
Yeah.
if we can even give them half of the time, if they could eat healthy food, then
Yeah.
they are far,
So much
far
better
ahead
off.
of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I do get, stressed out about when my kids do eat less healthy things, which they do. And I always have to bring it back in perspective. Like, I'm not like a beacon of health, but I'm doing okay. And I
Yeah.
came from way worse. Like there's always hope. And when I look back on like all of our diets, I'm surprised that we're as healthy as we are at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is still hope for people, no matter how, rough their diet was in the past. So there is reason to be encouraged and like shocked at like how glorious our bodies are in
Mhm.
being able to actually live through that and function. Like we had children, people went to college, got degrees, like all these accomplishments, eating that awful of a diet. It's like, that's amazing. Our bodies are amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can definitely recuperate, you know what I mean? Like you can definitely heal your body, from
Yep.
the past, from years.
And then
of-
imagine what we could accomplish with a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle. Like
Yeah.
the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, that's honestly one of the things that I want to keep in mind all the time. Look how bad I was. I'm so much better now. And I don't want to get drawn into the extremism. I don't think extremes are ever good on any side.
They're so easy.
It's just,
Yeah.
they're so easy, are they?
Well, but we did come from a very extreme past diet. It's
That's
normal,
very true.
but that isn't like compared to the diets of human history. Like the standard American diet is extremely extreme. And we came from that. And so sometimes it does take something that looks extreme the other direction to correct.
Mhm.
Like I think about people like you, Amy, going into deep ketosis in order to heal. Like that's pretty extreme. But I mean, to correct the extreme diet that you came from and the health condition that you were in, you can't just go to normal and expect everything to get fixed. Sometimes you have to do the extreme, like fasting and different therapeutic things.
And I think that that's actually the next point. My extreme is not your extreme.
Right.
Mm.
And then like what degree of extreme we each have to go to in order to get to healthy, because going too extreme when you don't need to can cause its own health issues.
And I think that's the point that I'm trying to get to is like, just because you're like, oh, I messed up and now I'm going to fast for a month because I had a bag of Cheetos. And I see people who literally want to do that. And I'm like, that's too extreme. So what's funny is I don't think that my eating is extreme because I see people and I work with people who are more extreme than me. So our perception of ourselves in relation to others, it's funny how we see ourselves differently. Because, like I said, I don't think mine's extreme. I can actually eat quite a few things. But when I look at you guys, I'm like, wow, I can't even imagine being able to eat that much stuff. Oh, and everything is like, oh, that would kill me. No, but I can do MCT oil powder. And I'm so excited. So Lindsay, I know that you really don't know how to speak to this, but what's it like being so extreme?
Oh, you're right. This is going to be an exercise.
It's like asking a fish what it's like to live in water.
Oh,
100%.
As a former swimmer.
What's water? What's water?
So I think what happens in my mind for the extremism that I tend to express or experience or live is that I get fixated more or less. And it's just sort of like a hyper focus on this one thing. And that's all I can think about. So that's all I do. And that's all I talk about. And it gets to the point where my husband, Jared, is like, okay, literally, if you say any more words that are associated with that topic, I am going to lose it. So, like, that's my extreme. And he'll say, is there any other thing we could eat? Or is this it until you decide to come back to like the equilibrium here? I can get very fixated, and it's more of a mental thing than anything else. And I do suffer a lot of the symptoms of ADHD. And I know that that can kind of be a way that that manifests is in hyperfixation. And when I am not extreme, and when I am not, like in an unhealthy spiral, I can see those things happening in life, and I can slowly just say, okay, but what is reality? Reality is I'm going to eat this variety of foods and I am not going to die. And that is one of my favorite phrases to use with my children is, but did you die? Or did you die though? And no, okay, then let's sort of like put this in perspective and move forward. And then I can go extreme the opposite side of things, like, oh, all right, well, I was all the way on this end of the spectrum, like, okay, we're going to go just like, we're going to eat just sticks of butter all day, every day. And that's going to be our only nutrition. And then you say, oh, okay, that's not doing right. So I better go all the way over here and eat only chicken breast all day, every day. None of it actually works, but that is how my brain functions, is I do the pendulum swing from one end to the other. And the healthier I get and the less foggy my brain gets, the easier it is to have perspective and an honest discussion with myself and say, okay, I acknowledge that that's the desire, but what is reality and how do you fit into reality instead of into some sort of like warped world that you're trying to create?
Mm-hmm.
That's a brilliant perspective. I lately, because of all the stuff I have going on, I'm absolutely if there's any chance this is going to help, I am all in. I am jumping in, and it's been working, but now I'm messing with it because I'm hearing a lot of voices and I'm like, oh, I should try this. Oh, I should try this. And now I'm like, ow, I don't feel good. So
too many extremes trying to talk in the same space, and it just starts to sound like clanging cymbals.
I love that. Let's not be clanging cymbals.
Yeah.
So
It's really hard because it affects, like, I feel like any sort of extreme change affects your body either really positive or really negative, but you have to try it out. You know what I mean? And that's the hard thing. I'm like that way.
The frustrating thing with trying things out, especially when you have healing to do, oftentimes you can get worse before you get better.
Yeah.
So it's like you're stuck in this, like, do I keep pushing through in order to get better, or am I actually getting worse? And so that's, I mean, how do you make that decision? Because like I'm doing the SIBO protocol right now, and my digestion has been bad. And that's completely common. Like it gets worse before it gets better. And like I know that, so I'm able to like push through. But if I didn't know that, I'd be like, well, these don't work, and it's just like it's impossible.
I'm running into that with all the supplements that I'm trying to take. My body is having a major response to it. I'm waking up several times in the middle of the night, unable to breathe because my nose and my whole face is so stuffed up and my eyes are just watering. I'm getting hives on my body. My eyes get so itchy and puffy that I can't hardly open them. My mental state though, with this last one, oh my goodness, all day yesterday, I lived in a state of panic. It was terrifying. And I was just like, this makes no sense. We went to go, we have one garage kitty. We went to go get her a buddy. Well, Apparently I didn't latch the crate closed properly because he got out in my car.
Oh,
Little baby kid, you know, I mean, he's like a teenager, so he didn't do anything. But all I can think is he's going to scratch up my leather seats. And I was literally on the verge of a panic attack. And I wanted to pull over and like burrito him, put him back into the kennel and put a bunch of stuff on top of it so he couldn't get out. I'm like, that's not logical. So it's about a 20-minute drive. So we're just driving. I'm just trying to get home. And then the kids are like, oh, we should stop and get the mail. My mailbox is a half a mile from my house, which is funny because the post office is only a quarter mile from my house. So it's a half a mile away. And I'm imagining this cat. I open the window and I can see this cat clawing Cassidy to get away from her and then running over me and jumping out the window. I could not bring myself to pull over the car. I was so afraid that this cat was going to pull a Batman. And so we drove home and I was literally shaking. And I'm like, this is from one pill? From one, and the dosage is 4. And I only took 1. And I'm like, how ridiculous is this that I can't even, and this is the support phase. This isn't even the detox phase. And then before, so it's support and then detox, and then we start killing things, you know, the H. pylori and everything. I'm like, this is insane. So we're looking at like a year-long process for me to even be able to get to the killing of the Lyme and the H. pylori and all it. That's not, I can't wait that long. So now we have to reevaluate and decide what we're going to do. So now I'm looking into like essential oils or homeopathy because I can't take anything that has proteins in it. And the problem with a lot of these supplements is that they're plant-based. So they have the plant proteins in them and I can't do it. So I'm sitting back going, okay, well, I didn't die.
but I came close.
But it's like, are you making progress? Like, is it something good happening or is it something, it's so hard to know.
It's really hard. And my husband didn't quite understand like the severity of my reaction. So yesterday he was like, oh, let's just push through it. Let's just push through it. And I had a full-blown panic attack. I started hyperventilating. I seriously, I was like hyperventilating outside and I couldn't breathe and I couldn't stand. And he was like, oh, okay. So he like went over and hugged me. We're standing up underneath the big maple tree and I was just shaking. And so he just held me for a little bit until I calmed down enough. I was trying to ground outside in the sun. And he was like, this is not okay. And I was like, I don't know how to like explain it to someone. I am on the verge of being completely out of control. And that's the part that's like, okay, if I'm in pain, I can kind of deal with that. If I have digestive upset, that would at least tell me something's moving. But it's a combination of like 8 things. And my kids kind of aren't,
state is involved.
Yeah, my kids aren't safe with me right now. They'll ask me a question and I'm like, would you just shut up? I'm like, oh, that's not okay. And so sweet Cassidy, my stepdaughter, she goes, you got something, didn't you? And I was like, I did. And she goes, don't worry, Mom, I've got this. She's like, you need to go take a break. I'll deal with these 2. So, and she's 10, so she'll take them and deal with them. But I don't want to be that mom again. I was that mom for 20 plus, 30 plus years. And it's terrifying for me to go, okay, apparently I can't heal this way. I have to find another way to do it because I can't be that mom again. I can't.
Yeah. Just as a tangent, as it were, the fact that Cassidy was willing to say something so rational in that moment when your emotions were in that uncontrollable state speaks so much to your character, and the fact that she knows who you truly are versus who you are when you've been contaminated, and the trust that y'all have built to be able to have her say, whoa, okay, I recognize something is wrong. This is not Mom. I'm going to help the situation. Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
Having someone who's willing to
step in.
say, I know you, and I'm going to do what I can to help you. That's impressive for an almost 11-year-old.
No kidding.
Absolutely.
And that it's funny. I used to always feel so guilty because my kids, especially my older three, had to grow up. They had to do that because I was always out of control. And it's funny with these ones, the younger three, I spend so much time with them and we talk so much. And so it's different, but I still get that guilt of, see, I'm not being the mom that I should be. So thank you for that. The putting it in that perspective, it helps me not feel nearly as guilty, because when she did that, of course, it made me cry even harder because I was like, I'm doing it again. I'm failing my kids again. So thank you for that perspective of no, that's not it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you didn't have that relationship built out of trust and love, I could see how easily you could spiral into a guilt, well of, just like pitifulness. But seeing like their reaction is a very encouraging thing. And I think that validates that what you are doing is going to take time, but it is a valuable quest to be able to get you to your healthiest state so that you can continue those relationships in such a loving and trusting way.
Yeah, I think I've definitely graduated from journey to quest.
I mean, you got to get those swords out. You got to wield the shield and
Life
keep
and
moving
death.
forward.
Yeah.
There, speaking of battle, there's a lot going on for everybody. It's not just me. I know each one of you have had your own things going on. I'd kind of like to touch on that for a minute, just so that everyone else who's struggling and going through something right now doesn't feel alone. Janet, we'll start with you because you have just a few things, going on.
Yeah, I was explaining actually earlier too, before you came on. It's just been, I was talking about my sleep patterns and how my sleep has kind of been lacking. And Lindsay was so kind to point out that I actually get a lot of sleep, which I feel like I need, but I'm not going to sleep like at my usual 10, 11 o'clock. It's been pushing like 2 a.m., just tossing and turning and, not getting adequate sleep. And yeah, it's just been a stressful couple of weeks for me. Of course, everybody has heard about Jimmy and how it was excruciating painful for me to see that, and him not being able to walk, which we all take for granted. And for somebody like Jimmy, it is devastating to him. Like if anybody knows Jimmy personally, that is the worst thing that could possibly ever happen to Jimmy, is not being able to walk. And so for 6 days, he laid in bed and he was only able to go to the washroom, which is like 5 steps from his side of the bed. And it really it consumed me, like I had mentioned in a few of my videos, and my videos started to kind of wander because it was so taking up so much space in my brain. And doing the BBBE challenge for the month of September kind of, took a turn. And I was like, you know what, that's okay. I kind of, had that mental state where like Lindsay, I'm like, I'm so hyper focused on the BBBE, and it almost is like painful and disheartening for me to stop doing something that I said I was going to be doing for 30 days. But obviously there's more important things for me to finish a 30-day challenge, and that being my husband. So I really concentrated on him. Yes, I had meat and cheese. I stayed high with the protein because it's just easy. The triple BE is really easy. So that was the good thing. But I found that I just wasn't having time to like make a steak or defrost the steak or do all of those things. And it was just easier for me to eat meat and cheese. But yeah, stress is the number one killer, you guys. Take care of yourselves, even though what's going on around you is very, very stressful. And, you have to make sure that you're taking care of you. And, if it is veering off of a 30-day challenge and going towards keto, I'm okay with that. I'm just happy that I didn't go on this spiral downward scenario of, my husband can't walk. Here I am, like, I'm doing all the things. What about if he never recuperates? What about if he can't go back to work? What if? And then that's what causes me to go to the fast food, go to the chips, go up the street to the convenience store and grab the chocolate bar and pop and just sit and feel sorry for myself. So that's kind of what I've been dealing with. We're on like the home stretch of it. Jimmy is back to walking, which is excellent news, you know. And I feel like his nerve pain will bother him until his surgery time in January. But as long as he has the mobility, I am happy, and so is he. It's the mobility that really bothers him, not necessarily the pain, but the mobility of not being able to walk. So that was very, very stressful. And I have still not weighed. I still have not weighed. It's been like over 2 weeks, and I think it's for the best, because even that itself would probably just be another addition to my mental health and bring it to a negative space. And I'm just kind of concentrating on the more important things in my life, and that is my family. So, and like you said, Amy, it's like you kind of worry about your family first, before yourself, and how they're feeling and how they're responding and everything else. And, you have to worry about yourself too, and take the time for yourself.
Yes. Go ahead, Lindsay.
I was going to say, I think in moments when we ourselves are either in pain or have something that we're going through, it's a lot easier to not stress about those compared to when it's our loved ones, because we have no control over that, and we have no ability to speak to those issues because we're not actively living it. We're having to sit on the sidelines. And I've always found being on the sidelines to be way more stressful than being the actual one in the game or in the situation. And so the fact that you were struggling with sleep, I think that it's heightened when it's not you. It's, Jenna having the incident with her. I mean,
yeah.
When I heard you talk about that in that video, I was just like,
I know.
I could not. And the way you talked about it, your face, like I felt it in my sternum right here, but you were able to talk through those things like without like losing your mind. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I would have lost every moment of that. So you've
was
got Jenna, you've got Jimmy,
scary.
you've got all of these pieces of the puzzle that you have such small amounts of ability to control, if any at all. So
Yeah.
it's no wonder your sleep was cattywampus.
Oh, for
and
sure.
I didn't mean like you have too much sleep.
Yeah.
I did not mean that at all. I'm just always flabbergasted, like, wow.
No. Oh, for sure. And if it's like sleep, if that's like the least of the whole reaction with all of this, then I'm okay with that. Like things could be a lot worse. But then on the other hand, like all 4 of us, when something like that happens to your kids, whether it's like that scenario with Jenna or bullying or anything that happens with your kids, for myself, like I just have to be the strong one and the calm one, and make the decisions and be everything's going to be okay, whatever, like, and that's kind of the role that I have been. But deep inside, it really, like, it was painful. That was a extreme painful week. It was beyond, like, I had nobody to even reach out to. And I think that's why I was like, I need to go to YouTube and like tell them what's going on, because it was like just an outlet for me to say it and say what's been going on. And, I'm not myself this week, and probably the next few videos, I'll still won't be myself because I'm so concentrated, hyper fixed on like Jenna and how Jimmy's doing. It's stuff that's even beyond my control, which makes it even worse. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so much, whether it's
Yeah.
families or fires.
Yeah, that was the thing. We thought we had made it out of wildfire season, unscathed, and then all of a sudden it just happened all at once. I was already gone on, my trip to the beach, so I'm trying to have fun with the kids that are there, and hearing about all of that, and just, it just makes you think about how at any moment everything could change, which is pretty unsettling, even though that's a reality that we all have all the time. But just have it like put right in your face. It's like, you have to deal with this, and be okay with that, and continue to move forward, and live your life with joy and peace, even though that is a possibility. So definitely been emotional couple of weeks.
Yeah, and we're getting into our hurricane season finally arrived here in the States. Although one of them is supposed to like swing up and hit a tiny bit of Canada.
Nova Scotia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nova Scotia, they're really, really like buckling down. It's supposed to be the worst like storm in general ever to hit Canada. So it's supposed to, I think, hit tomorrow on the East Coast. So
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
sick of, like all of these worst things ever that keep happening.
I know.
Come on.
That's what Zoe was saying, because Zoe was like, she's 20, or she'll be turning 20, and she was like, all of these things, like these momentous things have happened, like with the whole COVID thing, with the Queen dying, and all of these things, she was like, are all happening right now. It's absolutely crazy. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, it's a few years to remember.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
I was going to say, I think, things were catastrophic. My grandparents were living life in the Great Depression, and think about how catastrophic that was. Living in the Dust Bowl out in Lubbock, Texas. My grandmother, she actually grew up in Gulfweight, which is kind of similar-ish, not quite as desertous as Lubbock, but growing up in the Dust Bowl of a state, it's just like intense and overwhelming. And she could still tell stories to this day about her life growing up. And it's like every generation has something happen that is so monumentous that it just sort of marks a generation. And I wonder if this like sequence of dominoes constantly falling isn't just like one long stretch, and we're just noticing it because we're in that age range of, well, when I was a kid, I remember it being like this. Are we getting there? Is that what this is now? Because I don't know if I'm ready to be when I was a kid in my age.
I use that already. Yeah, I was gonna say, I say that already for sure.
Yeah. We didn't have Google to go ask questions to.
Right. So our church, we have a youth group, and my oldest is part of youth group, and we were in there hanging out with the kids, and one of the dads brought up the game of like, let's play, do you know what such and such is, or how old such and such is? And he said, how old is the World Wide Web? Like, what year was World Wide Web? Not like the stuff before World Wide Web, but, and the kids were all like, wait, y'all are older than the internet?
Yes.
Nope.
Yes,
That's
I
real.
am.
That's real. Remember the
Yeah. Where it's like my kids, they're 20 and 22. They don't know how to read a map. They wouldn't even know how to use the yellow pages. Like all of these things, they're like, how did you even get around? Like, how did you know where
horse
to go?
and buggy.
Yeah. No, we just stayed in our little house on the prairie all day and never went anywhere.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we were driving earlier and the kids were like, wow, look at that old red car.
Was it 2000?
It was a slug bug.
Yes.
You're like looking around, where's the Model T?
Richard's like red punch buggy. Crickets. Total.
Yeah.
The kids are like, what?
Oh,
We don't see them enough anymore to even play the game.
No, it's like the third time
No.
in a week that the kids have been like, that is so old. One of them, we were watching a movie and they were like, when was this made? Because this is like, the graphics are really bad. I'm like, you're 9. And you can say the graphics are really poor on this.
oh my
It was
God.
made in like 2001. He goes,
Yeah.
this movie is 14 years older than me.
It's like, go back and watch Ghostbusters. You want to see some really
Go back
bad.
and watch The Wizard of Oz.
The
They
Wizard
do.
of Oz. Yeah.
Those ones, they're like, I don't remember what it was. We were watching, I think we watched Tomb Raider last night because I was like, I think that's safe. I think it's okay. I was like, I'm trying to remember everything. Like there was a couple of scenes that I was like, cover your face because they get close to revealing some stuff that they shouldn't see. I was like, cover your face. So they did that. There's, nothing really, it's all action. So, but the kids were like, you can tell that that's CGI. I'm like,
Oh my God.
wow.
Way to steal the magic, children.
That was the CGI we had and we liked it.
That's right. That's right.
I'm like, you should just be glad you have all the CGI you have now. I'm like, imagine if in my time they made Jurassic park and how bad it would be. And they were just like,
There would be robotics involved.
Like old Godzilla movies.
exactly. So it was just, I was
Literally.
like, wow, I've been called old 3 times this week.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. So Lindsay, how about you? Jane of Neely, of course, and Neely is dealing with all of her SIBO and all of that stuff too. What about you? Is your world going crazy, or is your world still totally fine and happy and normal?
You know, the GIF or the meme where the dog is standing there looking blankly saying it's fine, everything's fine while the house is on fire behind him. So for me, I've kind of had like this mental image of plaque on my brain in my head all the time because I felt super foggy, and I've started to associate when my brain doesn't function well, plaque is building. And when you have oral plaque, you got to get in there with the pick and scrape it away if you're a licensed hygienist and not doing it for yourself at home at all. So I just constantly have this image of like there's just plaque developing on my brain because my brain has felt foggy. We went to Ireland and then Sicily, and I feel like I'm a broken record at this point saying that because it was a wicked cool trip. It was something that I did not anticipate happening, especially after we got to go to Cabo back in July, I think. Time is hard. We're still foggy. We're still building we're still trying to eradicate the plaque off the brain. But there was a lot more bread than I usually eat because I usually just don't eat bread ever. I do tend to be extreme that once I find what works, I just kind of stick to it. And I don't really have desire for pasta or for bread or for rice or any of those things, because if I just have it stuck in my brain that if I eat these things, it is going to cause me bodily harm, even though I know it's still food, and my children still eat bread. My children still eat pasta. Jared will sometimes still eat tortilla chips, and for some reason he doesn't die. So these foods are not death-inducing upon impact, but in my brain they are. And so coming back from Sicily, there was a lot more bread. There was just a lot more sugar in general because I had no control over anything that I ate. I mean, even eating just like meat, you didn't have any clue as to how they were preparing those things. Some of these places had great quality olive oil where you could see the groves where the olives came and were pressed and that kind of thing. But in just some of these like run-of-the-mill restaurants, they're not actively doing that. They are doing things the most cost-effective way they can, no shade, but that causes me to do, you know, wonky things metabolically. And so coming back home, I felt a lot of that shortness of temper, inability to focus, unable to put words together. And I would try to film videos and every other word was, and I already say the word and also anyway. I say a lot of words too many times as it is for filler words, but it was getting ridiculous. There was much footage scrapped because of things like that. And in one video, I talked about how I was short with the kids all the time because I felt like I couldn't compute, like my brain just was not able to make sense of the words that were coming out of their faces, and everything kind of works in your brain when they're just asking, hey mom, can I watch this show on TV? Instead it sounds like rah! And you're like, I can't with you. Whatever it takes to make the chirping stop, and easy parenting methods at this point because I'm gonna lose it. So that was a bit of trying to come back. And I also have been struggling, I think, with trying to consume enough fat. That has been a struggle because it was hard to eat a proper volume of fat for my chemistry while we were gone. And I don't know, it was just a very different way of eating, I suppose. Even though, yeah, we could eat a ton of charcuterie. I don't know that they actually called it that. It's hard to remember it at this point, but again, the plaque on the brain. So I'm coming out of it. Like there's lots of scraping of plaque happening. I'm consuming much more fat, and there's not, okay, this is another piece. When we were in Sicily, especially, yeah, I like that. Coming close with things to say.
Spill your secrets.
In Sicily, they eat dinner so stinking late. Like
Really?
so late. They would not open for dinner service at most restaurants till 7 p.m. or later. And I'm like,
Really?
okay, cool. And a lot of them, they do close down for that late afternoon, early evening time frame, and reset from lunch crowd to dinner crowd kind of a thing. And so I wouldn't be eating dinner until 9-10 o'clock at night, and coming home, trying to reorient myself to the time zone here, and trying to reorient myself to the way that I know works well for my chemistry. That it was an arduous process, and I'm still trying to get there. And I have been stopping my eating window by about 3 p.m. each day, and that has been helping tremendously. We have a lot more activities now that it's the fall, and every single girl gets to have one activity that they are allowed to do. I can't do more than one outside of the house. And so we're gone from the house each evening for the most part to an activity or to some group or something beyond. So we're just constantly on the go. And when we first came back from Sicily, it was like, now I have to try to reframe, okay, we have things to do in the evenings, but my body thinks that when it hits about 9 o'clock, that's when we need to eat dinner, but that's not correlated. I can't anymore. So it was just like a whole lot of trying to reorient. And now that I am kind of finding our groove, it's so much easier, and stopping eating by about 3 o'clock helps. And I do feel like my brain waves are moving a little more freely. The plaque seems to be lifting, as it were.
Good. You're unlocking your brain. I like it. I'm not there yet. I was talking to Richard earlier, and I said something, and I said, yeah, we can't talk about that right now. And he was like, why not? I said, because literally there's nothing there. There's like, I know we've been talking about this for a week and a half. And he was like, someone's coming to visit or something. And I'm like, I cannot physically unlock it. It's an empty vault right now. I got nothing. We're going to have to come back to this later. And he's just like, okay. I don't know what else to do. So I gotta get on that train with you. And I need to start eating for the first time before 3. I am horrible at eating in the morning, but I can eat all the way through the evening and into like late night. So I've been trying to get it back to like the circadian rhythm, get it back where it should be, but I am failing epically, partially because I feel so terrible that eating does not appeal to me until 7 o'clock at night, where I'm like, I'm starving and I need to eat. And so by that point in time, everything's thrown off. It's been fun. Yeah. So I guess that's probably about it. We've been going for a little bit. We can go ahead and wrap this up. Just kind of a hangout chat, because sometimes that's what you need. You just need to be able to hang out with your girlfriends and chat and get some stuff off your chest and let others know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
So thank you, ladies, for joining me today. And sorry, it was a little bit late. It'll be in about a month again for next month. I think this is it is 7 months, isn't it?
I think so. I think last time you said it was half
6.
year or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, 7, and next one will be 8. That's crazy.
Hey, can I make a motion
You should.
in this meeting?
Yeah.
Can I move that Janet be our secretary, because I couldn't even remember that.
That's okay. I didn't even remember that
Second motion.
I didn't even remember that we
Motion
needed to
carries.
record.
I know I'm like ridiculously good at that sort of stuff. It's almost embarrassing. Like I just enjoy that sort of stuff though, as far as figuring out stuff and keeping track of stuff.
Well, it impresses me mightily. So that's why I move that you be the secretary.
We
The
need
minute
to do something
keeper.
exciting though for the year. We need to do something exciting
Yeah.
for when we reach a year. Like something. Everybody start thinking of what we need to do. We have like, 5 more months, 4 more months.
Thank you everyone for joining us. And we will keep you guys up to date on our own channels. Everyone's channel is going to be linked down below. Have a fantastic month, and we'll see you in like 30 some odd days. So bye guys.
Bye.
There. Oh, by the way, my drug of choice right now happens to be decaf coffee. Decaf.
I have been inspired by your decaf consumption, and I have been much more involved in the decaf train as of late. But so what? Yeah, baby, that's fine. You can go downstairs with your girls, baby. Can we pause for 12 seconds?
Yes.
Can you cut this?
Yes.
If you don't cut this, I'm gonna come after you.
Can I put it in the bloopers? Up to this point, right here. And
Okay.
then I need to tell Janet about the thing to maybe help. And then
Yes.
we gotta take our thumbnail. So thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
action.
Right here.